Alright, I've actually got 3 things here. This first one, I'm pretty sure this one is the Hentai, so let's see. Yes, absolutely not for children. I'm trying to think if the name sounds familiar because I've got it before, because I ordered it a week or 2 ago. I don't know. But, yeah, we've got that. This one, this is actually something that came out last week, or should have been in last week's update, but I kind of, well, it was in the wrong tab. It plays Further Than the Universe. I'm pretty sure I don't have these. I mean, I have the series that are in here. These are steelbook releases of Goblin Slayer and Paranoia Agent. Oh, sorry. So let's go ahead and begin with this. I'm not too familiar with the show, but I get the impression that it's kind of a cute girls doing cute things. And maybe they're in like a Antarctic or Arctic kind of place. It looks like an aurora, and if that's Aurora Borealis, then that would be Arctic. I think it's called something else when it's down below. That symbol, that means... What release is this? Well, I was going to say, maybe not a US release, except that's Region A. Well, in any case, got this. The first 7 episodes, and then the last 6 episodes. And I say, oh look, they even got the snow background, but actually that's just, well, is it? No, it's actually a thing. I can't quite tell what it is, though. I don't feel like digging it out. Well, let's take a look at these steelbooks. First up, we got Goblin Slayer. The man, the legend, the D&D character made real, as in, like, you know, I think there's clearly a lot of Dungeons and Dragons inspiration that took place in here. That's a Regions A and B, for anybody that wants to import that. English dub, of course. He does not let anyone roll the dice. Leave nothing to chance. So yeah, do they even know? Yeah, this is definitely not just a D&D. This is definitely, you know, people have D&D sessions where sometimes people just come up with clever solutions to things, and, you know, Goblin Slayer is kind of about that. Then we've got Paranoia Agent. And if you're not familiar with Paranoia Agent, well, definitely a strong Satoshi Kon work. He's passed away, but if you've never seen any of his stuff, you should do it. He's quite the director, and I don't mean like he has a impressive resume. I mean, Region A only, English dub. I mean that, like, he definitely had a unique way of tying scenes together. Sometimes some of his stuff I felt was more effective than others. But I felt like this show itself, this maybe this isn't his only TV series, but the big one, I thought it was pretty good, pretty him. My favorite of his movies is Tokyo Godfather. But anyways, here's this week's Physical Anime Collection update. Alright, let's start getting through the stuff watched. First off, Solo Leveling, Season 2, Episodes 16 through 21. And, yeah, Season 2 is great. And I think my friend really is quite into it. You know, it definitely has its moments where, you know, just like the first season, it can, you know, maybe breathe a bit, maybe not too much, but you can definitely feel like that anticipation of the next big thing. And I think y'all saw me talk about stuff like that. Sorry, I was just thinking about something else entirely. Y'all have seen me talk about that when I was watching it live, and so, you know, I really like going back and rewatching it. And yeah, this is one that I would have trouble watching dubbed, just because of that one fight. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the best, but it's probably my favorite part. I mean, there's just so much awesome analysis you could do with it, which I think actually applies to the other ones, but for me, this is the one that just really sold me on this season. It's somewhere in this span of episodes. So, yeah, good stuff. Really enjoyed rewatching it. Beginning After the End, episode 6. Let's see. I guess it's okay. I think it's not rated too great, and I guess it's because, while there's a bit of a personal experience aspect to it, it also feels like it's meandering and hard to say it gives you something to hook on. There's neat stuff going on. Another time jump. And some things about the episode that, you know, that was touching and that was neat, that was amusing. You know, I think it's okay, but I can understand why maybe a lot more people are dropping it. You know, it's fine. Too Perfect Saint, episode 6. I remember enjoying the episode, but I'm not remembering everything standing out about it. Nothing that I can say, oh yes, here's a general impression. I'm just enjoying it, I guess. I think they're kind of giving some of the hints as to bigger things happening than just with our main character relating to our main character stuff. Not enough to make it not feel like I guess heavy-handed or something like that initially, but you know, it's still stuff. It's still okay. Let's see, Brilliant Healer's New Life in the Shadows, episode 6. I thought it was an okay episode. Not sure what else to say about it. Tigonia, episode 5. Entertaining stuff, I guess. The first time I've seen an onigiri made out of wheat. And we have yet to see what the end result of that is, but, you know, it's interesting. But, you know, it just kind of sort of is. But entertaining. Apothecary Diary, season 2, episode 40. Oh yes, big things happening. I appreciate that the show manages to keep everything that's happened in it relevant. So it's not like, oh, here's a one-off, here's a one-off, here's a one-off. You know, it kind of makes the universe feel a little more connected, especially when it's not like superficial connections, but really good writing. I mean, I mentioned before that I think the first episode of this series is really good at selling people on it, because they do a good job of introducing our main character as just a very entertaining person to see, and you don't even get the full breadth of her entertainment in the first episode, but just kind of her eccentricism. It's not like over the top. It's not like she's hateable. She doesn't think herself above other people. Just, yeah, lots of interesting stuff. Capable, pragmatic, but also not. And it does clever things against her interests as well in the first episode, which I think is part of what makes it so. It's like, okay, that was funny. That was amazing. Good first episode. So, you know, here we are, episode 40. You know, deep into season 2, and still pretty good. And I think just overall well written. Old Country Bumpkin, episode 6. I guess it was an okay episode. I think if there's a problem with it, it's that maybe this is an episode is the first time giving us something that feels like a long-term actual theme, Whereas supposedly the first episode sort of gave us something, but it hasn't really been developing that. It's just a sort of, I get he needs to get out there and be recognized. Okay, yeah, sure. But, the other neat thing about the show is earlier this week, I think there was a YouTube video by somebody that's known for sword stuff that had a lot of compliments for the show. It's not perfect, but it shows way more effort in terms of getting European/medieval sword fighting right. And I can see elements of this episode that probably go both for and against that, but it's something to appreciate about it. A couple touching things happened as well. So, okay, episode. Sorry, I've got this annoying hiccup. Evil Lord of an Intergalactic Empire, episode 6. I think we're getting a little bit more of a hint of an element that was introduced in episode 1 that would have made elements of antagonism against our main character to be thwarted, I guess, for lack of better words. I know I put that in a really weird way, but, I put it in a really weird way. I guess some elements of this episode, I'm like, okay, why did he think that would work? I would think that the story could go other directions without making our character just look like a lucky idiot to a certain degree. Which he's kind of been, and it's one of the weaker points of the show, but outside of that, it's done interesting things, and it is much closer to a couple storylines coming together than I would have thought, because it seemed like it was taking forever to get there, but, I'm hoping that we'll get to see them overlap, and we get to see some very interesting follow-up, I guess. So it's an okay place. Anwar Atelier Master, episode 7. It's kind of interesting that they introduced something that could have very easily felt creepy in a... Like, they introduced a thing, it's like, okay, well, clearly this thing that looks like a person hatched from an egg, so it's not actually a person. It's like, normally that would be kind of worrisome. You'd be worried about, like they said, a monster that intentionally takes on a human form, or maybe something that's like a doppelganger, or I forget the name of some of that stuff. Maybe doppelganger was what those were called. When there's a baby that looks like it's your baby, but it's actually a demon or fae or something like that. But the problem is, this show has Kurt in it. So, while there's that element there, and the show isn't directly addressing this, the fact that it's Kurt just pretty much means that it's, instead, okay, well, I guess that's an interesting direction for it to go. Not that it seems to have a final destination. And like I said, a problem of setting up, I guess, a reasonable why everything is, but whatever. It's an okay episode. Gorilla Gods Go to Girl, episode 6. I think we got revealed stuff surprisingly early in this one. Things that I would have expected closer to a season finale, which you could say that this is a core midway point. So it's interesting to see what the show plans to do from here. But yeah, it revealed a couple of things that I think we, the audience, already suspected. Some things that were like, well, if it's not that, then it's going to be that or that. And they did reveal what that was. And I know I'm being ambiguous, but, interesting that this episode revealed so much more, and it's only halfway through the season. As far as I know, it's halfway through the season. Let me see. Reincarnated as a Neglected Noble, episode 5. This was a surprisingly morbid episod name, and it wasn't like a fake out or anything. It really kind of was a, kind of morbid and enjoyable in that way. I think, again, I appreciate the fact that even though this feels like a show where it's like, okay, well, this is the episode where, they make a custard pie, and this is the episode where they sew together a quilt. Things that would normally be meaningless in and of themselves, just a kind of in the moment sort of show. It really isn't that. It really is building something up. Like, the activities they engage in are supposed to build up and lead to something more. And again, the one little thing they do in this episode is like, kind of feels like that to me, even though it's like, okay, he was picking vegetation with his brother, and it's like, but for some reason, when he was a spoiled noble up to that point, and then he got memory isekai'd, the fact that he's doing that, it's like, oh wow, that's not only humbling, but it's actually really quite great that they're also talking with the servants, and it's like, yeah, it's building stuff up, setting stuff up, and it really just doesn't feel as pointless as I would have thought that the show was going to feel like. Like, I don't mean pointless as in like no point watching, but pointless as in like no plot relevance, story relevance, I guess. But there's a real sense of progression going on here, so good stuff. Then, last but not least, Sword of the Demon Hunter, episode 7, which, once again is showing that Sword of the Demon Hunter isn't about, wow, we're going to give you a nice, excellent mystery. It's, building up its characters, its connections, its world, which is weird because, based on what it originally set up at the very end of that very long first episode, it didn't feel like it would be like this. But I think it's nice that it is. Because, when you'll have a show like a Demon Slayer, there can be elements of that that's like, why are humans even still alive? Wouldn't they have been completely wiped out or something? It feels too intense. And maybe there's an element of that that's just that Demon Slayer is always at the areas of interest. And maybe if you compared it to something to more like Inuyasha, where it feels like, okay, you sort of feel like there's these pockets of things to worry about. Many, 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 many pockets, like a million of them, one for each shard of the sacred jewel. That's a little daunting to think about. But, it's not even that. It's really just the world, which is also kind of weird because it did give us a final destination. It doesn't really feel like it's moving there, but after the first episode, you start getting the feeling that wasn't what it's about. So in that regard, the first episode is not a very good 3-episode mark, even though it's about 3 episode marks long. Yeah, but strange, neat. Not sure what else to say. Let's see. Talking about other stuff. I did mention last week, just the pondering of, hey, I should at least consider whether or not I would generate, thumbnails with a AI-generated thumbnail art, like a lot of other YouTube videos there. I don't have the drawing capability to really do anything myself. And, I said, I think it makes sense not to do that. And I still think it makes sense not to do that. There's a certain vibe here. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that there aren't fun things to explore there. So I created a channel in my Discord to start posting like just AI generated images, primarily focused on whatever I introduced in this week here. There could also be other strange things like but yeah, it's there. If you're not in my Discord, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It's not like it's a bustling place of activity. It's very calm and just off on its own. But, this is more of a point that, the AI images are there, and I definitely enjoy thinking about what I'm going to generate. I wait to generate stuff until I know for certain it's going to be on this video. So, even though I, know that Goblin Slayer arrived today, some of the ideas I've had regarding that and potential funny AI-generated images, I'm not going to generate those until I've opened up on video. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. I could have ordered it and they accidentally sent me something else. Or I thought it arrived and maybe something else. So I'm trying to have the pattern of when I know things are there, I, generate the images there. So I can say for certain that actually there's something related to the shirt. And it wasn't because I chose a shirt, but now I think about it, I should be able to integrate the shirt into some of the stuff as well. This one's Nekopara. It's, for those of you that thought I looked slim, I probably look pretty fat standing up like that. But, I didn't think about the fact that this was the next shirt, but I had already generated an image that, you know, after I upload my video tomorrow, I'll upload any images I've generated afterwards, you know, just to kind of not give people spoilers, even though y'all probably can figure out exactly what I'm going to, you know, unbox. But I have 2 servers that I call Chocolate and Vanilla, after, you know, Chocolate and Vanilla from Necopara, and over the weekend I figured out why I wasn't getting a video connection. Spoiler alert, I had a loose cable. And surprisingly, it was loose on the KVM side, which was the side I thought I did the best job on. But now it's nice and snug and tight. I have access to both servers completely again. Which, you know, I've always been able to go over the network to them to watch my anime, DVD, and Blu-ray rips that I have on those, so I don't have to dig those out of most places. But what's really nice about this is, you know, I could go to the displays and appreciate the wallpapers. The actual logged-in wallpapers, I don't think are that great. But I didn't think there were great options at that time. But I love the login screens, which kind of have an abstract version of the titular character. So they're able to just be thematic. And so, you know, as an example of an AI image that I generated for this video, you know, I was like, okay, Chocolate and Vanilla, I got those back. I do want to make something kind of acknowledgement. And I think, based on my first image from last week, I think it makes sense for the first image I tried generating to be, let's have something that's related to anime, DVD, Blu-ray unboxing. Even though the AI always makes Blu-rays, you know, let's just make something like that that's just sort of like, yeah. And so I have something about Chocolate and Vanilla and anime DVDs. Maybe y'all have already seen it if, you know, y'all are on the Discord. No, I think only 1 or 2 people have actually only seen the Discord. But, and, you know, I put it in its own channel not only because I didn't want noise about AI disrupting any general chat that may happen in the main chat, but also because I recognize the fact that some people just don't really like where AI is going, and I can appreciate that. That's why, you know, I put it in a separate place so where hopefully you can go there if you want to, and you don't have to if you don't. Anything else? Maybe could talk about Terraria, or Dead by Daylight, or... Is there anything else I've been playing? Huh. Don't know. If any of y'all play Dead by Daylight and y'all wonder what I think of the new quest progression system, it's neat, but I do worry that it does feel like it's demanding too much energy from me. Like, I haven't even played tonight. I don't know if I will play tonight. I might hop on Terraria to I guess line my elevators with straw or hay so that they can block the corruption from spreading. I don't know. I don't know. I guess that probably wraps up everything for this video. And then I was just thinking, I probably... Somebody asked me a question a video or 2 ago that I never did quite answer, did I? Like, an acknowledgement that I've got a lot of stuff and they want to know what I do, and I'm still a software engineer. My level is senior, although they may say I'm a level 4. I don't know if that means principal or not. I would certainly hesitate to say. And I guess I'm also a tech lead on my team, but I don't think at my company that necessarily means being paid extra, although it does mean that usually you're the highest qualified member on the team. Highest qualified, highest... No, I definitely had somebody that was a principal engineer when I would have called myself a senior engineer. And I think it really just... That one just came down to, you know... I know our systems. I've been here for almost 9 years. Yeah, 9 years. 9 years. And so I have some familiarity with the technology and stuff like that. Then that made sense. I hope he's doing okay. Sorry. You get to be an old man sometimes and just start reminiscing about stuff. Let me go ahead and wrap this up. Y'all, have a nice week.